Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. From 1st July, we started this half-an-hour satsang session. For the first couple of weeks, Papa led us to dwell more and more on the word Guru. Because on 24th, we have this Guru Purnima day. So in order to have a proper background, mental background, probably Papa thought it fit that we should apply our mind more and more on the word Guru. Brought out various interpretations. We will have just a quick recap. Because today is 21st, 22nd, 23rd and 24th, after 2 days. Naturally, we forget many things. So the cream of the message given to us through various Mahatmas, God, Guru and self are one. So Guru is within. Right from the moment this sense of individuality has assumed his body, God or Guru or Self has been with us. But at a particular time, the inner Guru prompted us to get in touch with an outer Guru. And when initially we were concentrating on the form of the Guru, we were attracted to the form of the Guru. We developed a subservience to that form. But the Guru says, God is within, Guru is within. That we have not given much importance, because our attention was purely on the outer Guru. So Papa chose this time that we should all know that the outer Guru says, go within, Guru is within. But we need an outer Guru to tell us. So Guru Purnima is a day when we reverentially go before the outer Guru, who is also a form of the Lord like all of us, but who was instrumental in turning our mind towards. So the inner Guru prompts us to get in touch with an outer Guru to know that inner Guru is there. If this is clear, so many doubts will be clear. Ultimately, everybody wants us to realize God or Guru or Self within us. At the same time, we revere that form, outer form, because but for that form, we would not have known at all. So in our case, beloved Papa, that is why Mataji was bringing these both dimensions when she was uttering the word beloved Papa. You all remember, no? She used to define who is Papa. You must know who Papa is. Papa is Nirguna Nirakara Shashvata all-pervading existence. You can get some idea of Papa's Swarup if you stand on the open ground and look at the sky. The space where there is nothing between the earth and sky can give you an insight into beloved Papa's all-pervading existence beyond all names and forms. So at the same time, because through this form, God revealed through this form, equal reverence is given to the outer form. Initially, it may be difficult for us to see, because our whole mind is completely covered with the outer form. And now we are making an effort. Guru means dispeller of darkness or giver of light. Guru is the spiritual awakener. Guru is God embodied in human form to liberate soul from ignorance. So the indwelling God is none other than your Guru, who initiated you from outside as a human being. Guru is the immortal, all-pervading spirit. Never look upon him as a mere person. If you develop this attitude from the beginning, you will realize that the Guru never dies. You will never feel the absence as he is eternally within you. Mataji says, make no mistake, it is Guru who does all. It is he who is seated in your heart, who makes you do everything, even your shortcomings and lapses. We trip over and fall. We assume that we are doing. The I springs up again and again in our mind, in the sense that we feel I have done this or I am doing this. The moment we realize through intense Nam Dhyan Seva that everything is done by the Guru, he takes no time to reveal himself in our heart. The moment we realize through intense Nama Dhyan Seva that everything is done by the Guru, he takes no time to reveal himself in our heart. That is why Papa taught us to dedicate all our actions to him, to our eternal, infinite Guru seated in our heart. Swamiji says, Guru is the absolute all-pervading reality and the entire manifestation. And the Guru is everything and beyond everything. Those who are awakened and have come in contact with a saint are taught the way to see him, the real Guru, within. Here begins the sadhana as per the Guru's guidance. Siddhanji Maharaj says, what is the Guru Dakshina? He says, Guru Purnima is a sacred full moon day when all over India disciples tend to travel to be present in their Gurusthan. They fulfill their desire to sit before the Guru, to offer their reverence and receive from him a quickening impulse that will give them a fresh impetus in their journey beyond sorrow to the realm of eternal bliss, the realm of light beyond all darkness. They also desire to show their reverence by making an offering Guru Dakshina. Being sincere and earnest in sadhana, what is Guru Dakshina? Rededicating themselves to the great ideals. That indeed would be the Guru Dakshina, desired by the Guru. The Dakshina desired by the Guru would be that each disciple shines as a center of fiery aspiration, intense fervor, total dedication to the ideal, a resolute determination to follow the path, come what may, to adhere to God's Guru's instruction and to live by the lofty ideas placed by him. Swami Yatishwarananda says, the real Guru who reveals to us in the truth, he is in our own heart. He is none other than the Divine himself. His message very often comes through some person who is also called Guru. So the Divine is sometimes called the Guru of Gurus. We should not expect much from the outer Guru, but should try to be in tune with the inner Guru, the Divine in us, the soul of our souls. Both the teacher and the pupil should try to be as much impersonal as possible. This becomes possible if the teacher tries to see the Divine in the student, and the student also tries to feel the Divine in the teacher. One should try to think of the other, not as a person, but as a manifestation of the principle. The Lord comes to me in the form of devotees. I should try to see him in them more than their personalities. As one advances on the spiritual path, one must come to realize that the worshipper is a soul, and the deity that is worshipped is none other than Paramatma himself. The soul is, as it were, a part of the Paramatma. Bhagavan, Ramana Maharshi says, the Guru works both externally and internally. From the exterior, he gives a push to the mind to turn inward. From the interior, he pulls the mind towards the self and helps the mind to achieve quietness. Hence, there is no difference between God, Guru, and self. One more message from Prabhupada. Through a letter. God is within us. We are not separate individuals. We are universal life and truth. The nearer we approach this life and truth, the more free and happy we become. Guru is only he who points out to us the way to this truth, which is awaiting revealment within us. The moment we reach it, our life is set free, we attain eternal happiness. In our march towards the goal, every experience of our life has to be utilized to the fullest in the task of rending the wheel of Maya that clouds our vision. Worship and adoration of the externals may help us, but they hinder us as well if we cling to them. Earnest seekers after truth outgrow them, and they have to, if they want to discover the truth within themselves. Discovery within alone brings us real freedom and joy. Worship and adoration of the externals may help us, but they hinder us as well if we cling to them. Earnest seekers after truth outgrow them, and they have to, if they want to discover truth within themselves. Discovery within alone can bring us real freedom and joy. So these are some of the clues and many more were given to us during the past 2-3 weeks. Let us all pray to Him who is seated within us, who facilitated everything for us, to have a balanced view about the outer Guru, the inner Guru, the self, so that we revere the outer Guru, we try to follow what the outer Guru says. And the outer Guru says, God is within, Guru is within. So the God factor or Guru factor is nothing but the Atman, self. And as we kept on moving, then he says Guru is within. He made us to how to understand the Guru within. So one of the methods he suggested was to observe our mind. So he said, the Maya, the curtain is there. The curtain has to be lifted. The curtain has to be set apart. Then only we can see the indwelling reality. So for that, Papa recommended so many methods, Nam Dhyan Seva, but he also said, observe. Every day you set apart some time for observing your thoughts. Your thoughts are the one that proves as a roadblock for remembering Him. Thought immediately takes us away from Him, unknowingly, unwittingly. So he said, observe. And at the final he says, the watcher is the real you, the self-immortal. So as we keep on observing, this truth becomes, according to him, it will become clearer and clearer to us. So it was suggested that every day we will spend about 5 to 10 minutes in the morning and try to watch our own thoughts. Initially, it is the toughest job because initially the thoughts will carry us. We will be carried away by thought. We will not know that we are sitting there to watch the thought. It will be overpowering us. But he says by perseverance, we have to keep on trying. And then we also realize that why we have been asked to chant Ramnam, because Ramnam enables us to stop or arrest all other thoughts and concentrate exclusively on the Nama. And finally the Nama stops. It may not stop for more than a minute or something like that. Again another thought will come. Then we have been asked to find the gap between the two thoughts, two chantings, like that. So many ideas were given. We have been given a lot of freedom to choose our own line. And when we pursue, there is a likelihood that the whole thing becomes dry. So yesterday he made us to go through the word, how the impersonal person. So then we come to realize that Papa's philosophy, Papa's approach to spirituality is nothing but a harmonious blend of bhakti and jnana. It is not exclusively bhakti as we all understand bhakti. It is not exclusively jnana as we all understand jnana. There is a harmonious blend. It is not purely monism, Advaita. It is not purely dualism. It is something very difficult to define. See, this is monism, this is dualism. Very difficult. But from the way in which Papa expresses, we can try to capture at least some. Yesterday, we were reading the foreword written by a professor in the San Diego University. He says, thus we have in this book, in the Vishnupad, as was mentioned in the foreword to volume number 1, a most extraordinary play of non-dualism and devotion, Advaita and Bhakti, documented in a most intimate, authentic manner. Normally, Bhakti, we have conceived. We have a deity before us. Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, like that. And then we, with all faith and devotion, we pour our entire heart to it. There is no other question. Towards everything, right from the thought starts till it ends, there is nothing but that bhakti, our dedication to the deity. There are so many Bhagavatamas in this great land of ours. We are carried away because we don't go anywhere near to that. We have bhakti, our mind says we have bhakti, and we suppose we have Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, or Lord Ayyappa. In so many names we worship Guru Ayyappa, Balaji. But we have to watch now. Our bhakti is short-lived now. When we go to temple, when we go to ashram, we, no doubt, we get a thrill, a sentimental, emotional joy wells up. We take prasad, we do production, we have the darshan. But as soon as we come out, we are back to square one. Absolutely, there is no change in our attitude towards the world outside. That is not the bhakti. So Papa brings out a bhakti where it is not concentrated to a particular deity, a particular form. All forms are included. So it is not centered on one. During the days, he would have visited a few temples. But there also he could see the impersonal person. He is not very much after it also. Nor with any ashrams or Mahatmas. Because he was content. The self-contained and self-contented, both were there. The self-contained was there, so there was nothing to gather from outside. So the bhakti, we get a different interpretation. The harmonious blend of both. That is why he named it as an impersonal person. There was with him the impersonal person. He could commune with him, he could talk to him. The dialogue was there. In one of his articles he says, this is a very important point, in the relationship of the devotee with God, as a personal ideal, the communion yields to him a rare sweetness and joy. But this sweetness is not unalloyed, for it is invariably accompanied by severe pangs of separation from his eternal beloved. This is the inevitable result of the devotees looking upon God only as an adorable person. Some devotees of this type would willingly undergo excruciating pains of separation as a price for the occasional glimpses of sweet communion with him. But this comradeship and union with God does not admit of a comprehensive realization of it. As such, realization alone grants the devotee an experience of uninterrupted, unending bliss. Not that when I go and have the darshan I have. So he was having dialogue. You might be remembering many a times in Inquest of God and In the Vision of God. In his own words, he will repeat, he would take God into task. That was the wonderful relationship we maintained. It was not as separate from outside, but he was able to feel the nameless, formless aspect simultaneously with the name and form of his individuality. Normally, our intellect cannot understand how both can be had at the same time. When the thought is there, normally, thought takes us away from him. So he is not there. When he is there in utter stillness, outside world is not there. But here there is a beautiful phenomenon where the sense of individuality remains, and it is having a regular contact with the nameless, formless, all-pervading, indwelling truth, which is called the impersonal person. And Papa says, here the advantage is, though it is very difficult to attain, we will never be missing. We don't need an outer prop, an outer support to hold on. The vision of God should be his delight at all times. Devotee and God must merge in each other, losing their distinctions, so that their communion may ever be stable and unbroken. That's why there's the watcher and the watched, At no time the watcher is away from the watched. So the watched becomes aware of the watcher. And the watched maintains that attitude. In our case, when the watched is there, watcher is not there. So Papa is now pointing out through this on the occasion of Guru Purnima. When you try to go inward, try to get some clarity on this. Devotee and God must merge in each other, losing all distinction, so that their communion may ever be stable and unbroken. His Lord for him then is not a particular form, but is revealed in and as all forms of the being, creatures and things. Now wherever he turns, there he beholds the beloved. He loves all beings as his manifestation. In this non-dual vision of God everywhere, the devotee is at once one with the different from him, though through a wonderful mystic experience. Finally, he brings the word mystic experience, because there is no other technique by which it can be explained. It's a mystic experience. So we pray to him now. You kindly bless us to have the same vision. The moment we close our eyes, we should be able to feel his presence and to know that he is making us to think, talk and do. And with that background, when we open, whatever we see, whatever we react or proact or react, it is all based on his promise, his promise, his promise. See something beautiful now. Now wherever he turns, he beholds the beloved. He loves all beings as his manifestation. In this non-dual vision of God everywhere, the devotee is at once one with and different from him. This is something the intellect cannot define or try to understand. One with and different from him. The nearest example can be, the father and son relationship, and the father and his father relationship. He is at the same time he is the son to his father and father to his son. It is not the correct simile, but the same person. Same person. There is no change in the person. He functions as a son to his father, as a father to his son. So it is possible. Intellect can definitely try. It is possible. One person can have a relationship with, an opposite relationship with, or apparently an opposite relationship with others. He is not the absolute son. He is not the absolute father. The son and the father is a relative relationship. So here he says, the devotee is one with him and different from him through a wonderful mystic experience. As an individual, yes, I am there. But as he, I am there as an individual. No? So when he got stabilized, that is why the I was not there at all. Hence, the earlier stages of devotion based upon a mere outer relationship should develop and culminate into an absolute devotion founded upon divine knowledge. It is divine knowledge that breaks down the illusory wall that separates the devotee from his God and enables him to realize his oneness and identity with him. Hence, the earlier stages of devotion, based upon a mere outer relationship, should develop and culminate into an absolute devotion founded upon divine knowledge. That is why in even the Gita talk, Vinobaji, in the 12th chapter, he beautifully brings about this Saguna Nirguna. He compares various and finds how given the Saguna is the height of Nirguna. No? Given an idol, normally we term it as a Saguna worship. When we go to a temple, there is an idol there. But Vinobaji says, ultimately when you analyze, that is the height of Nirguna. Because the idol does not react to anything. The other day, the word came, non-judgmental. Whether you go down, whether you don't go down. Whatever you offer, that is also goes back to you. You worship, it allows you to worship, that's all. It doesn't say anything. In some temples, when we hear report, somebody has removed and stolen something. It allows. Again, it is retraced. So it remains untouched, unaffected. So in that way, what Vinobaji says is the height of Nirguna. Whatever we say, it hears, that's all. Our own mind says, yes, I had good darshan, that's all. He is giving darshan to everybody equally. There is nothing special about it. He is accepting the offering given by everybody. He is hearing every prayer of them. Somebody wants this, somebody wants that, somebody wants this, somebody wants that. Somebody wants to avoid this, somebody wants to avoid that. Everything he hears, But he remains untouched, unaffected, and non-judgmental. So Vinobaji says that is the height. So when we start analyzing everything, it becomes clearer to us that there is no boundary that separates Saguna and Nirguna. So here also Papa says, in this non-dual vision of God everywhere, the devotee is at once one with and different from him, through a wonderful mystic experience. Hence, the earlier stages of devotion, based upon a mere outer relationship, should develop and culminate into an absolute devotion founded upon divine knowledge. Papa calls it as Parabhakti. That is why when we go through, we don't feel the dryness. At the same time, it is not, as somebody has beautifully pointed out, it's not emotional ebullition. At a particular time, you get some emotion and then it evaporates, it dies away. When you go with all that to a temple, and immediately after that, or even while standing on the queue, somebody overtakes, we immediately lose our temper. We view it from the individual standpoint. We never take into account that the devotee to whom we are praying is seated in him. And he is making us to do that we have. Even there, the individual level handling norms go on. So everything is intact, the moment we come out from this. But here it is not. This type of bhakti it is not. Here we are not trying to pinpoint our object of devotion to one particular form. But Papa wants every one of us. That is why he was very particular that no idol should be kept in the ashram. And no ritualistic form of worship. Not that he is against. But this risk is there, to confine, to limit, to fence God in a particular place and then not to see him anywhere else. So these are all the thoughts he is giving us. Tomorrow when we have talkers, we'll try to touch upon the Guru aspect. Before we close, we thought one more word. Ramdas's religion is of a surrender to a personal deity of loving grace and the simultaneous realization of non-duality. He says, I am God, but at the same time I am a river flowing towards God. Think about it. I am God, but at the same time I am a river flowing towards God. That means the sense of individuality has also been given by God, Why should we belittle? Why should we disregard? He has given us a wonderful BMI equipment, body, mind, and equipment, to know Him, to feel Him. So we equally, that is also a gift of Him. So we equally feel the relevance of the sense of individuality. We also look back our own. We were not knowing Him. We were not aware that He was there. But later on, He somehow made it possible for us to get in touch with an outer guru in our gates from the Papa. And then when we went on, initially we were not concentrating upon what He said. We were attracted by the personal affinity towards Him. And then later on, slowly, when we started going deeper and deeper into His thoughts, then He slowly introduced us that the Guru element, the God element, the self element is within you. Then try. So then when we go to a temple also, we find that, yes, temple going is also right, but not to get fixed. Because the temple deity is there in everybody's heart. The deity who represents an ideal is there in everybody's heart. All hymns, all praises, all, our slogans, our archanas, everything is though apparently for a personal God. Ultimately, in the archana you will find touching upon the impersonal aspects. We have hardly concentrated on those things. So through the form to the formless, because we have got a form, so we need a form to worship. So Papa is bringing everything in a beautiful capsule form and places before us. I am God. I am also a river flowing towards God. Let us all dwell upon it more and more and more and more. This requires a lot of contemplation, assimilation, concentration, so that some of it will remain to us. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram. Pranam, Pranam, Pranam. Pranam, Pranam.